Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the John Campea podcast here on my movie vlog channel. My name, of course, is John Campea, and I will be your host today. Thanks a lot for joining me today. I'm going to let you know how today is going to run. We're going to talk all about movies and entertainment and television shows and whatever, all based on the stuff that you guys ask. Now, how do you get a question into me for the John Campea podcast? It's simple. Just email me anytime at thejohncampeapodcast@gmail.com. Send in your questions. I pick a bunch out every day. I've got 6 questions picked out today, and you can see what those questions are. Just look in the description of this video below, and you'll see them there. And you'll notice a couple of them I also took from my Patreon supporters, which I'm going to pick out a couple from them every single day as well. So, with all of that out of the way, let's jump into the first thing today here on this Wednesday morning. It's early. I had to get an early start today. I'm a little bit tired. Anyway, the first question today comes to us from one of my Patreon supporters, actually, and it comes from Sebastian Trujillo, who writes, "Can you get actor fatigue? What do you think about actors becoming too popular that work in several movies in a short period of time, like Jennifer Lawrence, John Boyega, or at some point Dakota Fanning? We have in the opposite side actors like Daniel Day-Lewis. I personally get tired sometimes, and do you kind of see the same character in different movies? Do you think this is bad for actors, or should they really use their moment?" Thanks a lot for the question, Sebastian. And honestly, I'm going to tell you right now, I simply do not see it the same way you do. I mean, do I get tired of certain actors? I think the only time I get tired of certain actors is if I don't actually think they perform very well. Because winning cures everything. Like when an actor is amazing, you never get tired of seeing them. When they're not so good, that's when you get tired of them, I think. But like, for example, I'm not quite sure, because to me, it comes down to the same kind of comparison. Like when people talk to me about, oh, there's too many Star Wars movies, one a year. And I use a television comparison. And some people say I shouldn't use the television comparison, but I think it is absolutely applicable here. Okay, so here's what I mean. Like some people will say to me, oh, too many Star Wars movies a year. People are going to get Star Wars fatigue because there's like one Star Wars movie a year. Then I say, well, how many episodes of Game of Thrones did you watch this year? You watched 7. 7 episodes of Game of Thrones this year. Last year, you watched 8. Or was it 9? I can't remember how many episodes there were last year. But it's like, you don't seem to be getting Game of Thrones fatigue. You've been watching 8 or 9 or 10 episodes, whatever, every year for the past 7 years. So why would we suddenly have this thing called fatigue of Star Wars for one movie? Anyway, I kind of apply that same principle, I think, to the actors, to the world of actors. Because, you know, we can say, oh, I'm getting tired of seeing Jennifer Lawrence all the time. Well, it's like, wait a minute. You told me last week that you watched The Flash. Grant Gustin is in every single episode of The Flash, and there were 22 episodes of The Flash this year. You literally saw him. You sat down to watch Grant Gustin on screen 22 times this year. Whereas Jennifer Lawrence, you know how many movies Jennifer Lawrence was in 2017? 1. And it hasn't even come out yet. It's that new Mother. I think that's the one that she's in with Javier Bardem. That hasn't even come out yet. 1 movie in 2017. You know how movie she was in 2016? 2. You know how many movies she was in 2015? 2. So for 2015 and 2016, you are literally just seeing Jennifer Lawrence, I should say, once every 6 months on average. 1 time in 6 months. Yet we'll watch Grant Gustin as Flash 22 times in 1 year. So I don't really get that. John Boyega is the same thing. I think John Boyega, in 2017, he has been in 2 movies in 2017 so far. That was The Circle, and that's Detroit. Now, he's going to be in a 3rd one with Star Wars, but that's at the end of the year. That's in December. You know how many movies he's going to be in 2018? 1. As of right now, you know how many movies he's got scheduled for 2019? 1. So I just don't get it. Like when you use examples like Jennifer Lawrence, who's literally appeared on screen 5 times in the past 3 years, and John Boyega, who, is going to have 3 movies this year, but that's like an average of once every 4 months. And then next year, he's only got 1 movie. And the year after that, he's only got 1 movie. I don't understand the thing like they're on screen all the time. It's like, no, they're not. They're really not. So I'm not really quite sure I'm on board with this whole notion of getting actor fatigue when they're only acting so rarely and so few number of times when you compare that to television actors who you will sit down and watch on screen for 12 episodes this season or 20 episodes this season. So I don't really get that. Again, I go back to what I said at the very beginning. I think the only time you would really get fatigue of an actor is if you just plain old don't like the actor. And that's totally fair. That's a totally fair thing. If you don't like the actor, we get tired of them. I mean, that's simple and honest. If we really like the actor, we could probably watch them all day, every day. So, no, I don't really think that just without any other consideration that do we just get tired of actors regardless of whether we like the actor or not. I say television kind of proves that we don't. If we like the actor and we like the stories that they're in, we can watch them every single week, 52 weeks a year, and it doesn't seem to bother us at all. But anyway, that's just my opinion on it. You guys may have a totally different opinion. I'd love to hear what your opinion is. Jump into the comments section below and leave me your thoughts. Now, with that out of the way, let's get on to the second question today. And the second question today also comes to us from one of my Patreon supporters, and that's Ernesto Sanchez. And Ernesto Sanchez writes, "Hey, John, do you think comic book movies will ever go back to standalone movies? I'm loving the whole shared universe thing, but I have to admit, I do kind of miss just watching a Batman movie or a Superman movie, and it's just about them and not have to worry about mentioning all the other films in the shared cinematic universe." Dude, I have been banging that drum for years now. I mean, a couple of years ago, when they first announced that they were going to do a Shazam movie, I mean, this is going 3 or 4 years ago now when they announced The Rock. And at the time, there was some question about whether or not Shazam would actually be in the DCEU universe or not, whether they were going to do Shazam as a standalone kind of character in his own movie, in his own world, if you will, separate from the DCEU. And while a lot of people were very nervous about that, I'll be honest, I was actually kind of excited about it because I do miss the day of just a story about a unique hero. You see, today, in any MCU films, and I love the MCU, and in any DCEU films, and I love the DCEU, but in any of the X-Men movies, and I love the X-Men movies, the thing is, nobody's special anymore. Like that first Spider-Man, Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie, right? Peter Parker, and I use this phrase, I haven't used this phrase in a couple of years, but you might remember me saying this before. He was the exceptional within the mundane. So the mundane is regular world, regular life. And then you get this movie that's about this one special person, the exceptional within the mundane, the spectacular within the mundane. And there's something so cool about that and something so special about that I really gravitate to as a film fan, as an audience member. And there's something really cool about that. But now, in these cinematic universe films, and I, for the most part, I really do enjoy them. I really do. But there's no such thing as the special within the mundane anymore. Because now on every street corner is a superhero. Every movie has 8 superheroes. I mean, it's almost a rare thing if you're just a regular human being without any superpowers or don't fight crime at night. And like every movie has to reference 5 other movies, and every other superhero movie has to have guest appearances by 3 other superheroes. And I agree with you, man. I kind of long for a couple of movies to come out each year that would just be about one special hero, within their own world. Just one special hero in New York, in a world without superheroes. And so they're an exceptional person. Because now, like in the MCU, it's like, oh, there's somebody who can turn their face into a dragon head. Oh, well, I mean, we see something different every day. I mean, so there's nothing special anymore. It's like the whole thing has become mundane. Okay, with that little rant out of the way, let's get to your actual question. Do I think we'll actually get to a point where we'll get standalone, like truly standalone superhero films again? It's going to be a while. Man, because even King Kong, Godzilla now have to have a shared universe. Like The Mummy and Dracula have to have shared universes. Fast and the Furious, I'm sure, is going to have a shared universe with somebody at some point. I mean, 21 Jump Street and Men in Black are going to have a shared universe. So, I mean, everything today is about shared universes because everything has to be a massively interconnected franchise. And it would be really nice. I would love to see if either DC or Marvel would actually have the balls to put out a movie like just with a character they haven't used in one of their cinematic universes yet and just make it a standalone that person in a world that the Justice League doesn't exist, in a world where the Avengers don't exist, and just make the movie about them and that they are special in the world they live in. It would be great to see if either one of the companies had the balls to do that. But honestly, dude, I just don't see it happening anytime soon. All right. Thanks a lot for the question, man. Time to move on to the third question of the day. And this one comes to us from Brian Knight, who writes, which actor, director, or producer would you like to ask the simple question, why did this piece of crap movie get made? Or why did you decide to act in this shit movie? This year's examples are Baywatch and Chips. But which movie in the past 5 to 10 years would you ask this question? Thanks a lot, Brian. I often get questions like this one. Like, it wasn't just a few weeks ago, I think I took a question where somebody was asking, like, why do studios move ahead and actually make bad movies? Like, we hear about all these other movies that don't get made. Like, so why do they greenlight and move forward with these bad movies? So it's very similar to the question you're asking, like, which producers or director would I want to grab and say, why did you bother making this movie and all that kind of stuff? But the answer to your question is, which producers or actors would I want to grab and ask that question to? The answer is none. Nobody. Because I already know what the answer is going to be. The answer is going to be, we thought it was going to be great. That's going to be the answer. No filmmaker, no director, no studio, no producer makes a movie that they don't think is really good. Because look, there are a million scripts out there, a million of them. Like, you can't walk around Los Angeles into any coffee shop without seeing 7 or 8 douchebag writers, and I count myself because I did that myself. I did it myself as well. But 7 or 8 douchebag writers sitting in the coffee shop, pounding away at their keyboard because they're writing the next great script. And about 500 of those are being produced a day. All right. So there's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of scripts. Studios have no, shortage of potential scripts that they can go make movies on. So they pick a script that they think will work and they start putting a project together and they think it'll work. But the reality is, and I keep saying this, is that until you start seeing it getting edited together and actually on screen and seeing it play out, you simply just don't know. You don't know. You're crossing your fingers and you're hoping, and it can feel like the script is really good and this is going to translate well. It can feel like we got the right actor for the role, and it can feel like the director's doing a good job on set, and it can feel like when you're on set, wow, this movie is going to be amazing. But until you bring it in that edit room and you actually start to piece it together, and then you sit down in a screening lounge and actually watch it, you just never know. And that's the sad reality of it. You just don't know. So for even Baywatch, I guarantee you, they thought people were going to love that movie. When they were making that movie, they thought, oh my God, people are going to find this hilarious. This movie's going to be great. When they were making Chips, I guarantee you, they thought the same thing. They thought, oh my God, we've got such a winner on our hands. This is going to be great. And then time passes, it gets edited together, and they realize, oh my God, what did we just make? This is terrible. But if we were to ask any of those filmmakers, why did you make that movie? Their answer will all be the same. Because we thought it would be good. We thought the people would love it. We thought the critics would enjoy it. We thought it would make money at the box office. Hell, we thought we had visions dancing in our heads of sitting in the Dolby Theater at Oscar time at the Oscars and waiting for our name to be called by Ellen DeGeneres from the stage to come up and get my statue. I was already writing my acceptance speech. I mean, they thought they had something great on their hands. And that's just reality. See, and it comes back to that same underlying condition that we as film fans have. We as film fans think making good movies is easy. It's like, why don't they just make a good movie? Because making a good movie is ridiculously hard. And they all start out trying to make a good movie. And they all start out thinking they're about to make a great movie. No studio ever went, yeah, this movie's going to be a bag of shit, but whatever. Let's spend $40 million on it and just produce it anyway. Like, that has never happened. I guarantee you that has never happened. So anyway, that's how I would respond to that. Thanks a lot for the question, Brian. All right, we move on to the next question. And this question comes to us from Vishal Shethi, who writes, hi, John, how's it going? It's going very well, Vishal. Thank you very much. I'm a new subscriber to your channel. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm a new subscriber to your channel and in love with your podcast. In October of 2015, 20th Century Fox announced a Die Hard prequel set in 1979, tentatively titled Die Hard Year One, which saw John McClane being a young New York City cop. They even announced that Len Wiseman would return to direct and Lorenzo di Bonaventura would be producing. But after that, there has been no news about it. Is it dead, or do you think it'll ever happen? Well, yeah, to be clear, it wasn't really going to be a prequel, this Die Hard Year One, the next Die Hard movie. It was kind of going to be part prequel, part sort of sequel. Bruce Willis was going to be in it a lot more than people originally thought. That was going to be the plan. Len Wiseman did some interviews about it and talked about that and started to explain the project. But you're right. We haven't heard anything about it since, because I think the thing is dead. Now, I haven't been told by any studio reps or anything like that, but I think it's safe to assume that the project is dead. And I don't think what killed it was Die Hard 5, which was terribly received. I mean, people hated Die Hard 5. I don't think that's what killed it. I think what killed it was the public response to the announcement that they were doing a Die Hard Year One. The response to it was overwhelmingly negative, like hyper negative. People had just finished going to the theater and watching Die Hard 5 and they didn't like it. Then they hear this idea. I think people might have been open to a new Die Hard movie, but this whole concept of, it's going to be part prequel, a young John McClane, like a John McClane without Bruce Willis. And so I just think a whole bunch of, a perfect storm kind of collided of elements of that came off a bad part 5 that was poorly received. They didn't kind of announce Die Hard Year One properly. It was probably a bad idea anyway, going a prequel route as opposed to just another straight up sequel, which might have gotten some people's attention. And I think it was the overwhelming negative flood of responses that they heard that just made all of them go, you know what, screw it. Let's just cut our losses. Let's just take a step back and not bother doing this movie, because apparently nobody wants to see it. So let's just call it a day and move on. Now, again, I have not been told that by any studio executives. For all I know, Bruce Willis is planning on shooting this thing next year. I don't think he is. But like I said, if I had to sit back and kind of guess where Die Hard Year One was at right now, I think the project is dead and buried. I don't think we're ever going to see it. Now, that's not to say we'll never see another attempt at a Die Hard again. Like, we'll see a 71-year-old Bruce Willis, coming out of retirement to stop the bad guys one more time. I mean, I'd be up for that. Sure, why not? But I think this project, this specific project, this 1979 prequel, sequel, mashup, Die Hard Year One, I think it's dead and gone. Anyway, thanks a lot for the question, man. Let's move on to the next one. And this question comes to us from Laura Boulton, who writes, do you think the new Batman film directed by Matt Reeves can be better than The Dark Knight, which I believe is the best film of all time? Also, what's the chances of the Batman trilogy will be better than the Dark Knight trilogy? Thanks a lot for the question, Laura. Well, I mean, in asking the question, could the new Batman movie being directed by Matt Reeves, could it be better than Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight? Could it be? Yeah, could be. Is it probable that it will be? No, it is very unlikely that it will be, because, once again, it goes back to something I was saying a few minutes ago, that making a good movie is ridiculously hard. Making a great movie is a Herculean task. I mean, that's huge. And what Christopher Nolan did with The Dark Knight is just absolutely mind-blowingly spectacular. It's an incredible film. It's one of the best comic book movies ever made. Could Matt Reeves' film do that? It could. It's possible. Matt Reeves is clearly a very gifted and talented director. Warner Brothers, I love what they have done with Ben Affleck's Batman so far in Batman vs. Superman, although I still don't know whether Ben Affleck will actually be Batman in Matt Reeves' incarnation. We'll see when that comes along. But the reality is it's possible. However, it's extremely unlikely. But what I want to ask the question is, why even ask that question right now? I mean, it kind of feels like a new movie's coming out and we instantly want to draw a comparison and say, oh, can it be better than The Dark Knight? Or, I'll go watch a movie. Or, for instance, I went to go see Spider-Man Homecoming, which came out after Wonder Woman, right? And I went to go see it, and on my Twitter feed, after I came out of the theater, because I tweeted out that I was watching Spider-Man Homecoming early, is a whole bunch of people asking, is it better than Civil War? Is it better than Civil War? It's like, why would you ask? Why not just ask me if the movie's good? Why not say, hey, is the movie enjoyable? Was it fun? Did you like how Tom Holland played Spider-Man? Did you like the direction that John Watts brought to the film? Did this whole merger and working together and cooperation between Sony and Marvel, did it work out? It instantly goes to, was it better than Civil War? Like one of the best comic book movies we've had in recent years. Was it better than Civil War? It's like, well, so now by asking that question, if I say yes, it's completely unrealistic. And if I say no, then people are going to say, oh, that's too bad. That sounds disappointing. It's like, what are you talking about? So when does a comic book movie have to be as good as Civil War to be considered a great, fun, wonderful movie? Just because it's not that, like, do you think every drama that's ever come out has been as good as The Godfather? Like, do you ask anybody who comes out of a drama, was it better than Godfather? Was it better than The Godfather? And if you say no, so it's disappointing then. It's disappointing then. No, it's just not The Godfather. It doesn't have to be The Godfather to be a great movie. We often get that too with sequels. Was it better than the original? No. Oh, so it's disappointing. No, but it doesn't have to be as good as the original. It just has to be good and be enjoyable and be fun. I just think that fans of comic book movies are setting themselves up for disappointment. And we're being unfair to Matt Reeves. If we go into Matt Reeves' first standalone Batman film, whenever that comes out, whether it's 2019, 2020, 2021, whenever, they've moved the release date a number of times. But when it comes out, I feel like we'd be unfair to Matt Reeves if we go into it already asking the question, is it better than The Dark Knight? Is it better than The Dark Knight? I think we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. I think we're robbing ourselves of having a really good time at a movie that could be really exceptional and really good, just maybe not quite as good as like one of the models of what a comic book movie can be with The Dark Knight. I just think we're robbing ourselves. And like I said, we're putting unrealistic expectations on Matt Reeves. I think we're putting unrealistic expectations on Warner Brothers. It's just not fair to the filmmakers, and it's not fair to us. Why don't we just ask the question, can it be really good? Can it be really good? So I think, number one, it could be better than Dark Knight because anything's possible. I just don't think it's likely. But I do think it could be quite good. And I do think it's likely that it's going to be quite good because I like the moves Warner Brothers has been making recently. And I really think Matt Reeves is a great director. I don't think he's as good of a director as Ben Affleck, but I think he's a great director. And I think he's going to make a wonderful Batman movie, regardless of whoever his Batman is. I think it's going to be good. So we will just have to wait and see. Thanks a lot for the question, Laura. All right. Now, the final question of the day comes to us from Jason Rye, who writes, and I know it's spelled F-E-Y, but he specifically told me it's pronounced Rye. So it's Jason Rye writes, what happened to Meg Ryan? That's a question I hear a lot. She has all but disappeared from movies. Kate and Leopold is like over 15 years old now. Yeah, Meg Ryan was it. I mean, she was it. She was the last true actress that you could say that this actress is America's sweetheart. It was Meg Ryan. She was the embodiment of that. Like whether it was Sleepless in Seattle or You've Got Mail or any of the other great movies she did. I mean, she was it. She was beautiful and sweet and innocent and quirky and fun. And she was the girl next door. She was completely the girl next door, and she was America's sweetheart. She was the whole total package. And then all of a sudden, she disappeared. Why? What happened to her? Well, I've got my own opinion on that, on what happened to her. It could be several other contributing factors. Maybe she was overworking. Some people say she just started to pick some bad roles. But I remember, I was younger at the time, clearly, but I remember living through that. And I remember feeling the apple turn, if you will, on the career of Meg Ryan. And it all happened when she did a movie. She was married to Dennis Quaid, and they were America's sweethearts. I mean, they were the Hollywood couple, and everybody thought that one was going to last because you had these two sweet, wonderful people, Dennis Quaid, Meg Ryan, right? And then anyway, now some of this may be totally unfair. I'm just telling you what happened. How it was reacted to may be completely unfair. Maybe it was fair. I don't know. I'll leave that for you to decide. But anyway, so then she does this movie with Russell Crowe. I believe it's called Body of Truth or Body of Proof of Life. That was it. Proof of Life. She with Russell Crowe. And apparently she had an affair with Russell Crowe while making that movie. That's the story. It might be unfair enough, but that's the story. And it became very, very public. And then she went through a divorce with Dennis Quaid, and it was nasty. And that girl next door, that America's sweetheart image, got tarnished. I could feel it as a film fan at the time, as a younger film fan at the time. And remember, people don't talk the same way about Meg Ryan anymore because she was the all-American apple pie, quirky, sweet, fun and funny, spunky and tough, but still to the heart, the girl next door, America's sweetheart. And then that image became really tarnished with, celebrity scandal of affairs and divorce and things like that. And I think it sabotaged her career. I really think that sucked. Now, she did a few things over the past 10 years, but nothing of note and nothing that really got any traction, which is really unfortunate because you know what? Everybody talks about Sleepless in Seattle, and Sleepless in Seattle is a wonderful movie. Absolutely, no doubt. I'm not taking anything away from it. But I actually preferred You've Got Mail with her and Tom Hanks. Maybe not the movie as a whole, although I love the movie. Dabney Coleman's in it too. But just her in it. You cannot help but fall in love with this girl. And You've Got Mail. She's Greg Kinnear's in it too. I forgot about that. Anyway, she's so adorable. The performance that she gives in the movie, it's unreal. She's so great. If you have not seen You've Got Mail yet, I highly recommend. Jump on Google Play, jump on Amazon Prime, jump on Netflix, search around. It's online somewhere available for you to rent and watch. Watch You've Got Mail. If you're dating somebody, you're married, watch it with your sweetheart too, because it's totally fun. It's very funny. And it's a little bit weird because email at the time was still kind of a new thing. So it's kind of funny now watching it in our modern context, but give it a watch. I think you'll enjoy it. But yeah, I think this is one of those things where a personal scandal kind of tarnished her public image, which then kind of undermined her career at that point. I think a part of it too was that whole scandal kind of took its toll on her too. And I think part of it was that she wanted to withdraw as well, if I understood it properly. But anyway, that was just my perception of it and what my opinion of it is. You may have something completely different. Anyway, that'll do it for me, guys, for this installment of the podcast on this Wednesday morning. Thank you so much for joining me. Listen, if you're one of the people who enjoys watching my videos, check in the description of this video for a link to my Patreon page. Consider becoming one of my Patreon supporters. I put out 70 to 90, sometimes 100 videos a month. If you enjoy them, it'd be great if you could become one of the people who supports me doing that. While you're here, take a second, click on the subscribe button, become a subscriber to the John Campea YouTube channel. That'll do it for me, guys. Thanks so much for joining me, and until next time, bye-bye.